let's make sure that this is recorded for the benefit of those who could not make it today. So in addition to the 3 financial products that we offer through Miami Open for Business, we also have 3 specific technical assistance provider grants. And so you may have seen this over email or in our funding guidelines document, but we really wanted to craft a TA program that supports businesses at a variety of levels. And it allows for participation of the smallest of the small and even some of the larger businesses that are prepared for the next level of their entrepreneurship. So the first funding opportunity is what we call a community-based small business guide. These are providers that are locally rooted in each of the Miami Open for Business priority neighborhoods, which we will talk about in a moment. And these providers really help those small, oftentimes informal businesses really legitimize their operation. So getting registered, maybe getting their books in order for the first time, really helping them kind of get to a level of legitimacy so that they can apply for future funding opportunities, be prepared for the next level of TA, what have you. This is a $150,000 grant across 2 years, so 75 per year. And we will be selecting a total of 7 providers to serve each of the OFB target communities, which I will showcase in a moment. The next grant offering as part of this opportunity is more of a full service business management provider. This is an entity, one serving nonprofits with capacity building and one serving small businesses that we hope will deliver some more advanced business support services. And I'll talk about what those constitute in a moment. This is just a really exciting opportunity for those businesses who maybe have their basic affairs in order, but are stuck. They would like to access the next level of either growing their staff and headcount, opening a new location, going down the procurement pathway, getting certifications, etc. So we do expect these organizations to serve a larger number of businesses. They are kind of location agnostic anywhere in Miami-Dade County. There will be 2 total providers selected, one to support our nonprofit community and one to support our small business providers. The third and last funding opportunity in our TA grant program is a workshop series. We have 5 specific workshop series that have been identified by stakeholders as real critical needs. It basically helps businesses use the assets that we're providing funding for. And so we are looking for a provider to lead each of these 5 workshop sessions over the course of this and next year. We anticipate awarding a total of 5 grants or work contracts, depending on if the vendor is a for-profit company, on those variety of workshop topics. So I'll go ahead, now that you have kind of a nutshell of each of these 3 offerings, I'll go into detail in terms of what we're looking for, application specifics. But if you have any questions as you're viewing the content, please don't hesitate to put them in the chat or in the Q&A. And thank you so much, David from the Greater North Miami Chamber. It's so excited to see you here, as well as Antoine from the Southeast Overtown Park West CRA. Excellent. So you may have heard us mention the OFB Priority Neighborhoods on a few occasions as it relates to this initiative. We really wanted to prioritize our investments in select corridors in Miami-Dade County, really neighborhoods that are historically overlooked for funding and investment. And so while the microgrant and loan applicants can originate from anywhere in the county, the businesses who do hail from these neighborhoods do get some extra points during the scoring process. And in order to redeem the commercial real estate down payment product, your subject property and businesses do need to be in one of these 7 corridors. And for specifically the small business guide, we're hoping to find one provider that will serve each of these 7 communities, and ideally an organization that's already rooted in and has a track record of rendering services to businesses in these areas. And we'll talk about that community small business guide offering in a couple minutes, but just wanted to make sure you were aware of the 7 focal communities for this work. So let's get a little bit into more detail about these funding offerings and what they constitute. And so while there's going to be some specifics to each of those 3 offerings, we kind of envision a high set of responsibilities across all vendors. And so in essence, providing high quality TA to the target population of this initiative. We're looking for folks who have a track record, who have demonstrated experience, and can really showcase how the TA that they provide helps reach minority entrepreneurs. We also are really committed to data here. We have funding obligations and expectations to our funder, reporting obligations for our funder. We also want to make sure that we are measuring the impact that we have. And so we do hope that any TA partner for this initiative can partner with us on the intake application and data fields, This doesn't necessarily mean retrofitting your current existing intake application to meet our expectations, but rather being upfront about what it is that you're already collecting, sharing that with our evaluation vendor, BSRI, and then also being willing to maybe make some tweaks or share some of that data with us so that we can measure any change in delivery of the activities over time. We would also appreciate any attribution to the OFB initiative and the Miami Foundation as the source of program funds. So whether that's on a flyer, a webinar, outreach, etc., we really appreciate the opportunity to raise awareness and that this initiative is related. As mentioned, data is a cornerstone for this work. And so regardless of the intake application that you end up with, we do hope that whoever is selected to serve as a TA partner will be committed to collecting data, remitting that data on a regular basis to BSRI. BSRI is incredibly friendly to work with. They have a lot of workarounds for remitting data, whether that is Qualtrics survey, Excel spreadsheets, enabling access to their system, access to your system so they can download these data. In essence, we will be looking for TA providers who are committed to collaborating with us on data and data collection. We also would like to work with folks who can facilitate access between small business participants and BSRI for follow-up data collection. We're going to have a lot of opportunities for focus groups, photo voice, follow-up surveys, interviews. And so the folks who are willing to collaborate with us and facilitate researchers' access to small businesses for case studies is much appreciated. And then, of course, providing a referral network. We imagine that there'll be many businesses who may graduate through the TA programming. We know that there are a lot of other TA providers out there who might not be selected, who will have great candidates for participants. And so we're really looking for somebody who is willing to collaborate within the OFB ecosystem with our CDFI, Partners for Self-Employment, and just with general businesses in the community. So these are kind of the high-level responsibilities across the entire TA program, irrespective of which particular initiative you may be applying for funding. And so these are things that we'll be looking for during the proposal review process as well. So first, to recap, this community-based small business guide. This is a $150,000 grant to 7 organizations, each that are rooted in those communities shared and previously. This is helping the most informal small businesses either prepare for additional TA, really get their affairs in order so that they can be better set up to apply for funding opportunities and have their business succeed overall. We envision that this type of assistance is bound to be a lot more hands-on and individualized, so the overall number of businesses served may be lower than other providers, such as the full service provider. It's also expected that this organization already has a footprint in the community in which it is applying. This is not necessarily an opportunity to stand up a new TA provider organization in one of these communities or to stand up brand new programming, but rather an acknowledgement that there is so much small business support already happening at the grassroots level. We're providing funding to support an organization that is doing that work already. This means that while the organization is welcome to use its own curriculum, its own programming, we do hope that these core competencies will be covered by each of the community-based small business guides. Things such as business registration, getting your BTR from Miami-Dade County, getting any certificates of use and occupancy if you have a brick and mortar location, making sure that there's no outstanding permits or code violations, and basically helping them liaise with some of that critical paperwork with the municipality. We also would encourage small businesses participating in this type of TA to get a handle on basic financial principles, making sure that they're not behind on filing their taxes, making sure that they understand their cash flow, their inflow of cash to the business, making sure if there's any debt service to be repaid, that they have a thorough understanding of how that's impacting their business's longevity. Also, basic online navigation. We all know too well since COVID how consumer patterns have changed. A lot of folks are expecting a business to have a social media presence, to have a Google Maps page, to be able to view maybe even their menu online before you visit. So this is really helping some of those businesses, many of whom are legacy businesses, get a basic online presence that will really help amplify their visibility in the community. And lastly, any basic assistance they may need with business incorporation. So did they incorporate under the proper incorporation structure? Are there any legal implications they need to be aware of because of that? Do they have an understanding of their business plan, their core model, et cetera? And so, of course, there's other topics that are really germane for entrepreneurs, but we really see these as kind of cornerstone in some of these corridors so that these businesses, many of whom are legacy business, can continue to operate and be eligible for future funding. I'm going to switch gears now and talk about the full service TA provider opportunity, but just want to pause in case there's any questions about the community-based small business guide grant offering. Matt, I do see your hand is raised still. I don't know if that's a new question or that might be a relic from the screen check. Okay, cool. Great. If there's no questions in the chat, I'll go ahead and segue to the full service nonprofit and small business management grant. So this is looking for two providers, one that helps nonprofits with capacity building and another that helps entrepreneurs and for-profit small businesses with the technical assistance that they need. When we say higher capacity enterprises that are ready to scale, we're talking about businesses that might be either stuck at a certain level or ready to grow to new frontiers. I did get a question from somebody. This doesn't necessarily refer to procurement pathways or getting institutional contracts. Maybe this is an organization that really wants to increase their digital marketing footprint. They have basic social media presence, but they want to bring some of their website or their inventory online, right, and explore e-commerce. Maybe this is an organization that finally realizes that they need to add staff, but needs to understand the legal complexities of having W-2 employees, exploring payroll providers, benefits, and what have you. And so with the larger grant size, we do expect a larger number of businesses to be served than the community-based small business guides. And we also have some ideas about the type of curriculum or the core competencies that would be covered by these providers. So again, your existing programming and whatever curriculum you have you're welcome to deliver, but we are hoping and envisioning that this type of provider would offer the following lessons. So more advanced financial principles, for instance, not just filing your taxes, but are you taking depreciations? Are you itemizing for the first time? Do you understand your cash flow projections from a multi-year perspective? And for our nonprofit serving organizations, this should definitely include things such as fundraising strategies, capital campaigns, better understanding your grants pipeline, and having a more multi-year kind of look at fundraising and development. For digital marketing strategy, this is moving beyond that 1.0. This is helping maybe with sales and conversions from web traffic. Maybe this is building out your search engine optimization, not simply having a web presence, but really optimizing your web presence. As mentioned, pathways to scale may include things such as procurement, but maybe it's also succession planning. You have legacy businesses that are aging out. How do they ensure a successful transition or sale of their business to future generations? And lastly, this is an organization whom we expect to provide general risk management, legal protection, cybersecurity, et cetera. It's basically 2.0, if you will. We know that there's a lot of organizations out there that are providing this full service TA. The form that it takes on, we're agnostic at present. It could be a cohort-based curriculum. It could be one-on-one consultations, online course delivery. You will be asked in your application to specify the method of the TA. At this point, we are more concerned with the learning objectives and the things that participating entrepreneurs will take out of this training than the modality, but we will ask you to expound on the modality of TA in the application. I'll pause there for a moment before we talk about the workshop series, see if anyone has questions about the full service TA provider grant funding opportunity. Great. So I will go ahead and walk through the third and final TA offering. So these are going to be a little bit more specific topical workshop series that are grounded in the fixed assets supported by OFB grants and loans. As mentioned, this is an initiative to help enterprises purchase more of their own fixed assets, but we want to make sure that they also have the knowledge and know how to deploy those assets in their business. Each of the workshop series will be awarded anywhere from $4,000 to $10,000 a year. That's this year and next year. Of course, the intensity of the workshop, the delivery method, the cadence will have a bearing on the final award amount. If this is for example, a monthly series that convenes every month 12 times in person, it is a lot more likely to come in at the $10,000 range versus a quarterly workshop that is delivered entirely remotely, may be more consistent with a $4,000 amount worth of curriculum. Again, agnostic whether it's delivered in person or virtually. You may repeat some of these workshops. They may be offered on a rolling basis, or maybe it's a series of learning opportunities, 101, 201, 301 over the course of a year. And these are the 5 workshop series that we are going to commission for funding. So the first of which is digital enablement. Touches a little bit on the thread mentioned a couple minutes ago, changes in consumer habits. Like, how are we ensuring that minority entrepreneurs and businesses are really taking advantage of technology to improve internal processes for their volume of sales? So maybe they want to go to a digital invoicing system. Maybe they want to introduce an electronic point of sale system. Maybe they simply want to start to sell some of their products online instead of simply brick and mortar. These are just some of the ways that we'd like to explore businesses to expand their digital footprint. We also have a workshop series devoted to digital content transformation, really helping to have your online presence lead to more sales, whether that is operating a blog, paid advertising through social media, etc. We'll also be offering a workshop series on purchasing hard assets and how to deploy them in your business. There are a lot of concerns, especially around, for instance, liability and insurance, depreciating assets. Through Open for Business, we are facilitating a lot of businesses' purchase of hard assets, not just office equipment, but maybe that's heavy machinery, maybe those are vehicles, etc. Making sure that they're not just purchasing these assets, but also accounting for them appropriately in the business's financials and risk mitigation. The 4th workshop series is around remodeling and renovations. We have a lot of commercial real estate grantees who will be remodeling their sites after they take possession. We also have a loan purpose that is devoted to remodeling. And so for those borrowers or grantees who are interested in making capital improvements to their shop, making sure that they take into consideration things such as vendors, permitting, adhering to building code, etc. And then the 5th and final workshop series for which we are commissioning a TA provider is all around the commercial real estate process, helping folks understand how to be competitive, how to prepare as a buyer, how to go through the mortgage approval process. And we will be awarding some consideration to vendors who can talk about commercial real estate acquisition with a lens towards shared equity, which is one of the cornerstone elements of our commercial real estate product. In summation, these are the 5 workshop series for which we will be commissioning a TA vendor to deliver over the course of the next 2 years. There's a lot of latitude with regard to the modality and the content curriculum, as long as it helps achieve one of these 5 aims. So you may be wondering who is eligible to participate in this TA programming that is grant funded. We really want to encourage flexibility. And so while TA providers do not need to turn away any small business, we are articulating the ideal or target profile of a TA participant through OFB. So for example, if you are the Allapattah community-based small business guide, you don't need to turn away an applicant who may be applying from Grapeland Heights or Hialeah. However, we would highly encourage the Allapattah community-based small business guide to prioritize serving Allapattah businesses. These are the chief eligibility requirements to receive a grant or loan through OFB. They must be based in Miami-Dade County. The owner or the nonprofit's organizational lead must hail from a historically underserved background, that is Black, Latino, LGBTQ, veteran, or person with disabilities. The organization must be in operation for at least 2 years and have less than $1 million in annual revenue or operating budget. And we've also prioritized for funding organizations that offer a local good or service with benefit. So for example, businesses that are selling firearms, alcohol, tobacco, or maybe they focus exclusively internationally. Those are not the focus for Open for Business. All that said, your TA organization, may have participants who come in through the door and don't fit one of these parameters, but would still like to be served. We do not want to be in a position to turn anyone away. However, this is the target participant profile of a small business or nonprofit who would be receiving TA services through your organization. Now that we've walked through all of the basic details about the funding opportunity, the funding amount, and what we are looking for in a provider, we can talk a little bit more specifically about the application itself. I do want to pause though, make sure that there's no questions either in the chat, the Q&A, or you can raise your hand to ask a question on the line. I don't see any questions in, so I will go ahead and keep sharing some of this content with you. This section is just going to give you a little bit more detail about how to access the application. So here at the Miami Foundation, we use the Submittable platform for grant applications, including this opportunity. We also have a miamifoundation.submittable.com. We're just making sure folks are using the correct Miami Open for Business to find this funding opportunity. There's one application for each of the 3 types of TA provider grants. When you open the application, you will see some proposal questions that include the following dimensions. So the first of which is experience and track record. You will be asked about your experience, especially providing TA programming to the historically underserved entrepreneur profile that is the target for Open for Business. We would love specific examples of programming that's been successfully delivered in the past. And so anything that you can do to showcase your organization's experience in this space is extremely helpful. Then we will also ask you about outreach and recruitment, and this is especially germane for the community-based small business guides. So we want to better understand how it is that your organization markets itself publicly. How do you find participants to take part in your programming? If you want to conduct new outreach for OFB funded services, help us understand your plan. Are you going to go door to door to businesses in that neighborhood? Are you going to do a social media blast? How can we work together, the Miami Foundation's network of grantees alongside your organization? We want to make sure that there's a clear plan to make sure that participation is maximized in these opportunities. We're also going to be asking about impact of past programming. So help us understand the impact that programming has had. Do you have a specific data collection process, such as baseline data points collected at the point of intake? How do you follow up with participants to know whether the programming has had an impact on them? To the extent possible, we would love to see specific metrics. And those don't necessarily only need to be financial metrics, such as increased revenue or increase in jobs. We also love to hear about an increase in skill set, confidence, knowledge that you can state as happened as a result of folks participating in your programming. And then lastly, we'd love to understand your curriculum plan. We're pretty open-ended in terms of how the TA can be delivered, but we'd just love to better understand, will you be able to hit on the learning objectives and competencies as stated in the funding opportunity? How do you plan to work with small businesses? Is this a one-on-one? Is this a cohort? Is this hybrid? Is this pre-recorded? Is this all of the above? Really helping give some form and context to the curriculum that you plan to deliver as part of this funded opportunity. After applications, we also have a couple of attachments for each of the applicants. There's a budget template that you'll be asked to complete, just giving us a sense over the next 2 years how the funding will be spent and whether there's any matching funds or other sources of income that will help supplement the OFB funds. We also asked for the organization's latest financial statements or operating budget. You'll also ask to complete a brief staffing roster. Just help us understand the staff at your organization or the consultants that you will be retained to deliver these services. You know, what is their track record, their experience? If, for example, you are applying for one of the workshop series on renovations and remodeling, help us understand, you know, the folks who are delivering this programming, are they licensed? Are they AICP planner? Are they a general contractor? Do they have a background in architecture? That staffing roster really helps us better understand who is planning to deliver the programming. And then the fourth attachment, it is only required for the full service providers and the workshop series. An example curriculum, either curriculum that you've delivered in the past that you'd be able to share turnkey, or a proposal for what you plan to deliver as part of OFB. And then it is also optional if you wish to share any client testimonials or a letter of support that can be from either a municipality, a government entity, a fellow nonprofit, a client, or another funder. Really just sharing a testament to your services and track record. Please note this last item is definitely optional, but we welcome you to submit if that is something that you have at your disposal. Here's a quick preview of the budget template. This is a standard Miami Foundation budget form. It's a multi-year grant, so you'll see 2 different columns for year 1 and year 2, whether you have any other income sources to supplement the funds. The total funding request across the 2 years should ladder up to the amount that was quoted in the funding guidelines. You may know that for some other Miami Open for Business funding opportunities, like the micro grant, staffing and other line item categories cannot be underwritten. That is not the case for this technical assistance grant. This technical assistance grant can include things such as staffing, overhead, materials, travel, equipment, etc., so long as it is in support of delivering the programming. And so this attachment will be available. You can link to, you'll find it linked to from the submittable portal. And then we're almost done with the content. I just want to share what we look for in a strong applicant. We get these questions pretty often. And so we do have a scoring matrix that we apply to all of our funding opportunities. And the 4 key criteria in this funding opportunity include an experience and track record of serving historically underserved entrepreneurs, that the organization has strong organizational and financial capacity, that the curriculum is thoughtful and effective, and that this organization is committed to collaborating openly with the foundation, our evaluation vendor, as well as the CDFI that supports us with lending. And so there's a lot more specifics here about what we look for in an optimum application, but just know that these are kind of the 4 cornerstones across which each application will be scored, and really helping to make sure that the folks that we work with not only have a track record of delivering TA in this issue area, that the organization can be an effective steward of grant funds, that the entrepreneurs will take away specific and valuable tactics from the curriculum delivered, and that overall this is a great partner who will enter the OFB ecosystem and be willing to collaborate on data, collaborate on referrals, and work together overall just to maximize participants' success in the program. A copy of these slides will be uploaded to our website. And so if you don't have the opportunity to read all of the details under each of the 4 metrics, just know that this will be available for access at a later date. And I'll also email it out to all of the folks who attended today's webinar. Lastly, just to touch on some frequently asked questions before we open up the floor. The folks who are eligible to apply for this funding opportunity include both public charities as well as for-profit companies or even governmental entities such as a CRA, a city office, or what have you, provided that they have the capability to deliver this type of programming. So just as a note, if any of the for-profit businesses are awarded one of these grants, it will be structured as an independent consultant vendor contract, and a W-9 form will be issued for services rendered. So it will look slightly different than a grant awarded to a nonprofit, a TA provider that is incorporated as a nonprofit. You may also be wondering whether organizations can apply for more than one TA grant opportunity. They can, provided that the organization has the capacity to fully deliver on that. So you may be wondering if you can apply as a community-based provider in one of those target neighborhoods and apply to deliver one of the 5 workshops. That is definitely feasible. However, you'll just want to make sure to substantiate, that you can deliver on both pillars of programming without sacrificing the quality or the reach. Organizations can also apply as a collaborative. Perhaps 2 partner organizations would like to come together to apply as the full service small business provider. That is something that we are open to. However, the lead applicant does need to take full responsibility for subgranting, administering the subgrant to that organization, and data reporting, including things such as TA activity across both or multiple institutions. And lastly, we certainly envision this as a 2-year partnership. We'd love to work with the TA providers that we choose this year in 2024 as well. However, we do reserve the right to renew or suspend the partnership contingent on year 1 performance, both in terms of delivering the curriculum, small business feedback, as well as complying with funder mandated reporting cadence. And so that's just a note that we do envision this to be a 2-year partnership, but reserve the right to suspend services if we find that there is a lapse in what was agreed upon for the original engagement. So this hopefully helps to head off some of the frequently asked questions that we've received. I do just want to give a plug before we adjourn to all the great resources on our website. All of the 3 financial opportunities for businesses that I mentioned. We have a flyer available. We have a frequently asked questions document. And we will also be archiving this and all of our other info sessions on the website. This concludes kind of the formal run through of our TA opportunities. I'm so thankful that you all attended today to find out and gain more information. I'm here if you have any other questions in the chat, in the Q&A, or via phone. Yeah, go for it, Dave. I see your hand raised, but feel free. Oh, I see it. Now I have to ask to unmute.
Hi, how you doing?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
That was short and sweet, and it's easy to understand, and we look forward to submitting our application. Um, are you able to have meetings about it before it's submitted, or is it just submitted without having further discussions with your team or yourself?
Yeah, that's a fair question. I can definitely be open to meeting, probably about a 15 or 30-minute meeting with prospective applicants. It's definitely not something we're opposed to. I would recommend, taking a closer look at the application and the funding guidelines. The funding guidelines document basically recapitulates everything that you've seen here today. And then yes, after that, definitely open for a phone call if you have additional questions. Thank you. Any other question? Oh, hi, Beverly. Do you have to be physically located in the selected community to provide services? That's a really, really excellent question. And so while we'll take into close consideration that organization's existing relationship with the community. If, for instance, we receive several applications from organizations that are physically located there, have a track record, and have existing relationships, we may give deference to them. For example, if one of these organizations has a longstanding relationship with that municipality and can help facilitate small businesses getting their certificates of use, their business tax receipts, like with that municipality because of that pre-existing relationship, that is something we will look upon favorably. However, we know that there are some communities where there's not one standout or one singular small business support organization. And so if that organization would like to, while not physically located there, service and double down on outreach for that community, that's definitely something that is feasible. So it's not a requirement for the organization to be physically located there, but we do look at the relationship between that organization and its adjacent kind of communities and folks to better understand whether that's the right fit. I see Sandra has a question about the funding amounts. That's no problem at all. I'm going to put the recap slide back up here. And this slide deck will be emailed out to all of you and also uploaded to our website for later access. Awesome. And David, I see your hand is raised. I think you should be able to go ahead and unmute yourself now.
You're unmuting it. Hi, I just wanted to thank you for your presentation again, and it's excellent.
Thank
We
you.
all
I really
appreciate it.
appreciate that. Thank you. I have successfully been able to unmute the the rest of folks. So Beverly, Antoine, Matt, Sandra, let me know if you guys have any other questions.
Brittany?
Hi, Beverly. How are you?
Hi. Good. Deadline for the grant is Monday, February 13th.
Yes, that is right. Monday, February 13th at midnight. Or 1 minute before midnight, I should say.
1 minute before midnight, yes.
And this is that web address where you'll be able to find all three of the applications. Excellent. Well, if there's no further questions, I definitely don't need to hold you all longer than necessary. I really appreciate your attendance today and your interest in these opportunities. We want to make sure that Open for Business is more than just the grants and loans that are distributed, but also the knowledge, the training, and the advice and the know-how to really help each of these entrepreneurs maximize their potential and potentially become even more fundable through Open for Business. And so really appreciate everyone's time today. And feel free to email me or Open for Business at miamifoundation.org if you have any other questions.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. See you all soon.
All right. Take care, Brittany.
Okay.